extraordinary, one must have an extraordinary dream. A goal so high, a journey so demanding, that its achievement to most seems impossible.
So tonight, I've asked Erwin to come and share his testimony with us. If you don't know Erwin Edelon, he is our English discipleship officer. And if you don't know, I meet with him, personally once a month. Pastor John also meets with him, and he's very committed to our church for so many years. A lot of times he'll wake up at 4 or 5 on Sunday morning, go to an event, and he'll come show up to church. And you'll see him in his shorts, and sometimes he'll have to go afterwards and train. And I thought it would be fitting because in prayer meeting we pray about physical needs a lot. But as Christians, we know that the physical and spiritual are intimately connected. And since our vision of vibrancy means stretching and going, and Erwin this is his second Ironman? The second Ironman that he completed, and Jason Lee, Hampton and Bettina's son, also competed in it. And they will tell you that much of that training, especially if you're a Christian, there's a huge spiritual component to it. So he's going to come and share a testimony about the integration of faith with something that's very personal, and that you're going to see that how theology comes to life even in hobbies. So Erwin, where'd you go? Oh, you're right here.
Hi everyone, and thanks for coming out. I know it's been cold. I was supposed to wake up this morning and ride my bike, but I just stayed in bed because it was just so much better to stay in bed this morning. So it's just good to be here. It's just really good to have this opportunity to share with you guys. You could imagine to prep for something like this, it's taken a lot of time and hours, and then now to get to share about it with my church family, it's such a privilege, and so I'm really thankful, Hanley, for taking me up on my offer to actually do this. I thought you'd forget, but now I'm here, and it's just really glad. I'm really glad to get to do this. So I know this is not what we're used to doing at prayer meetings. I hope it still encourages you, and if you have any questions about it, please feel free to talk to me afterwards. Okay, so here's what we're doing today. I'm going to talk a little bit about me, since I only know a handful of you. I'll tell you a little bit about the triathlon. You saw the video about the race and what that's about. I have more to say about that. I want to share about this recent triathlon I did, which was it was mid-November in Arizona. And then just if there's any questions about what I said, we'll just leave it up to you guys to ask any questions. So that's a picture of me and a bunch of my friends at one of our recent events. I have a small dog that now lives with my mom, and my favorite food's pizza. So that's a couple photos. So about me, I'm 31 years old. I grew up in Diamond Bar, California, so pretty close. Went to Diamond Bar High School. Bet a bunch of you guys went there too. I went to UC Irvine for college and for grad school. So I've always been local, and it's been nice since being at UC Irvine. I've been able to come back for fellowship during when I was in college. And I live in Brea, and I also work in Brea, which is really, really nice. I know some of you have really long commutes, and so I'm thankful I could probably get to work in like 8 minutes if I drive there.
You drive, you don't walk it.
Sometimes I'll drive there, but it's like more of a headache to when I bike or run, because you have to shower and all that. I work full-time at a company called Zodiac In-Flight Innovations. Actually, there's a handful of people that also work at Zodiac In-Flight Innovations. A lot of young adults who either work at my company or at Life Race. So it's been really awesome since I've been there since 2006 to not only be there at a good company that I've grown a lot at, but also to just fellowship with a lot of people like Ed at the back and Josephine. We're all at the same place. So it's been a good almost 10 years at Zodiac. I'm also, yes, like Hanley said, an English discipleship officer, and so I've gotten a privilege of doing various roles here at church, and so far it's really been good this year with our new vision and partnering with Hanley to really see what we're going to get to do to launch this vision for the English congregation. About my faith, I was raised Catholic. My family's I'm Filipino. My parents are from the Philippines. I've been there a handful of times, but just most Filipinos, they're raised Catholic, and so I was been going to a Catholic church my whole life, but up until my senior year, I started coming to FCBC through a friend. I was in Uncle Ivan and Uncle Tony's Sunday school class. I went there for about a year, and then right before I graduated, I was baptized at this church, and I've been coming here since 2001. And yeah, so September 2002, right before college, I've been here, and those are a lot of pictures of retreats. One of my big passions just in serving is through just planning events and planning retreats. So I've gone to do a lot of that here with the college group, and hope to plan more events going forward. So I think for me, just what I really am passionate about is just, now that I'm 31, like really thinking of like, what do I do and how this all comes together with my whole life. And so I've taken the time to really summarize like my personal mission statement. And I'm going to read it to you. It reads, I'm most passionate about using my strengths in administration, leadership, and teaching to the best of my ability to help both individuals and organizations I believe in achieve their goals. This is most visibly seen among my network of family and close friends, the local church, and the company I work for. What drives me the most is when I can clearly see how these goals translate and serve to serving, representing, and glorifying our Lord Jesus Christ. I think for me as a young adult, it's just been easy to really not have any direction on like why I do what I do. And for me to get to write this out and to focus on this and remind myself of this, it really helps me zero in on my passions, and this is really why I'm really blessed to like serve in the capacity I get to do here at churches, because I get to use all my skills I've picked up in my workplace and in other areas to glorify God through ministry. So there's a couple more photos. This was the one above last year was from the young adult network retreat that I got to spearhead with a bunch of other young adults with our church and a bunch of other churches. And below is a Tough Mudder event that me and about 25 of my work colleagues participated in. And it was really great to see them all come together and do something outside of work. So this is what I like doing in life, and so it's been good, but I'm still, I would say, young, being 31, and I'm still have a lot to figure out. So yeah. Okay, so triathlons. A lot of people ask, how did I get myself into this? To be honest, I remember a Christmas dinner at my house. I usually have dinner in Diamond Bar for all of our holiday parties, and a lot of my family members were just making a lot of not so nice comments about how I've kind of stopped exercising. And so that's a picture of me, like about a couple months later. I was around 170 pounds. Right now I'm about 150. And I just kind of do what usually happens is you just get really busy with work and school and church and life. And I kind of stopped doing any physical fitness. My friend Ernesto sent that email and said, I want you and Elmer, who also did the race, and a couple other friends to do a triathlon. I said, I can barely swim. I haven't ran it forever. Why not sign this up? Why not sign up for this? It'll force me to get in shape. So I signed up, and it was a big challenge for me to make this commitment, given how I could barely swim across the pool. So since I signed up, I really had to get my act together with waking up early and training and doing a lot of things. And about 3 months later, I ended up losing 15, 20 pounds and did my first triathlon. That's a picture of me barely crossing the finish line, and my goal was 2 hours. So in like 4 or 5 months, a lot happened, but it was definitely quite a challenge to really get my act together with all my training. So this was a short triathlon, but thankfully I got through it. And since then, I've done a decent amount with keeping my weight at a reasonable level. But the problem is I still eat a lot, and so ideally I'd weigh a lot less for triathlons. Everyone doesn't believe me, but I like eating a lot, especially pizza, so it's fine if I am right. Okay, so so I think for me, like, what I've had to really learn throughout this process, I think this Bible verse really sticks out to me, because it's so easy when you're doing 15, 20 hours a week of training, of like, why we do this. So 1 Timothy 4:7 reads, have nothing to do with irrelevant, silly myths, rather train yourself for godliness. For while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also the life to come. For me, I'm very competitive. I get really into this because I want to do well. And this Bible verse is something that comes to mind that I have to remind myself about regularly, because it's easy to get focused on the actual race and forget that this is just a temporary thing for me that will eventually pass and eventually I'll move on from. And to see that why I train for all these races is to really set myself up for much greater things. Especially in doing a race, and I'll talk about the race I just did, it's easy to just want to give up, or it's easy to just want to just say, this is not worth it, who cares? And so reminding myself that this is so much more than just racing has been really, really helpful for me to get through things. So I really like this verse, and a couple more verses I'll share with you that's really helped me stay motivated throughout the process. So 2015, I want to share a little bit about this year. Overall, one thing I've learned, and I'll share at the end, is I kind of overcommitted to a lot of races. I did about 15 or so this year. I did the LA Marathon in March, and I was really happy. I ran it in about 3 hours and 42 minutes, and that's a lot. That's about a half an hour improvement from last year. So for me, I've seen how in doing better at races, it's really encouraged me to keep going and do better. And so this was one of my better races this year. This is another race that I did with Elmer, Ed, and a bunch of people. This is the Nautica Malibu Triathlon that I did in that first picture. So I finally did it again 3 years later, and I did it in about 20 minutes faster than I did it the first time. So I was really happy. What I was really happy about is my bike split for the race was the fastest out of everyone who did the race in my age group. So this race is in September, the Ironman is in November. So coming to September, I was like, well, I was very confident thinking, well, I'm doing so well in these shorter races. This is going to be a great Ironman for me this year. I'm so excited. I also did a half Ironman below that I did about 20 minutes better than last year. So I was, throughout the year, getting more and more confident that this Ironman was going to be really, really good. One thing, I won't bore you into all the details. How they measure how well you do in a race is through this USATU, USA Triathlon Rankings calculation. I'm not going to bore you with this. If you want me to send you these slides, I can. But pretty much it's a way to baseline out of 100-ish how well you did in a race. So that's the calculation. This is like my progression since that first Nautica race up until the last Nautica race. And so you can see over time it's gotten better with a little bit of struggles here and there. And so that's why for me it's been like, it's easy to get carried away with this, is because when you see progression, it's like, oh, this is great, I'm doing well. But this was around, again, mid-September. I had one half Ironman to do before the Ironman, which was in Las Vegas. It's called Silverman. So right before the race, this was it. And so here's a picture, a couple pictures of me and my little brother. One thing I've learned that I've been humbled about is my little brother, who never does triathlons. I said, Eric, I want you to sign up for a triathlon. I'm sure I could do much better than you. I had him sign up for 2, and in both times he's done better than me by a few minutes. Even though he never does anything, he borrowed my bike. It's just crazy. The picture on the right is with Jason Lee and my friend Wesley at the Silverman Half Ironman. So just like I said, with a lot of good races, coming into this race I said, you know, it's going to be no problem. I'm sure I'll do really well. And I was very humbled by what happened. I ended up coming in almost last place in my division, and it took 7 hours and 33 minutes. The cutoff for this race is 8 hours and 30 minutes, and the swim portion, which is first, the cutoff is 1 hour and 10 minutes. I finished in 1:06. I almost got disqualified. And you can imagine for me, who, again, had a good year, to have such a bad race, it was very, very discouraging. And I think I really had to, like, after this race, you know, I was driving home and I really was like, I don't know what to do. I have a month until the Ironman, and I was pretty convinced that there's just no way, I'm just not going to do it, and life will go on, and that's too bad, and I just had to accept that. And so, here's another graph of my scores. So, long story short, this was Silverman. This is how my friend Wesley did. This is how Jason did. That was me. I had a 64. And so I was like, I'm in big trouble. So I looked at this. Strava is a tool that you could analyze. That I log all my training. So if you want, I could see that I biked around 6,000 miles this year and ran about 400 miles and swam like a lot. And I noticed, like, okay, right before I didn't really do, this is the week before the race, and I did a lot, I just kind of took it easy, and I said, you know, I'll be fine. And so I didn't really prep like you're supposed to the week before, and I just got very complacent, and I learned the hard way. I think more important than just the physical aspect for that race was the rest of myself. So again, I wanted to drop out. I knew I could finish, but for me, I said, you know, I could probably finish the Ironman, but I don't think I'll do that well. I'll probably do worse than last year, and with my friends doing it, this is going to be really embarrassing. So that I've learned, after really thinking about it, that was just a big source of my pride. I knew that I didn't want to, tell all my friends, man, I totally got beat by my friends, or I did really badly. And that was a really hard thing for me to do. Some of you guys, I texted you, I think it was Hanley or John, I was like, I don't think I'm going to do the race anymore. And it was really hard, but this is why, and I had to come to terms with this and really go to God and say, God, why do I care so much about what other people think? And so this verse was encouraging, but he gives more grace, therefore the Lord says, God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble. And so I really just had to say, God, it's not about me relative to my friends, but it's just me still sticking to what I started and finishing it. And so I knew, like, as much as it would be convenient to not do the race, I knew I wanted to finish what I started. And I had to remind myself again, I do these races so I could prepare myself for greater things in life, things that are more important than races. There's a lot of things that we prayed about today that people are really struggling about, that we want them to keep persevering through. And so after really thinking about this, I said, fine, I will do the race, and life will go on, and forget about what happens, and I don't need to tell anyone anyway. And so I proceeded to keep training and get ready. Okay? Last year, when I did it, this is a picture with me and my family, my friends. There's my mom using my triathlon bike at the house. I was thankful to just get to bring a lot of friends and family to go with me to this race. This year was a little more complicated, and I'll explain why. I was also asked by my friend Paul, one of my good friends from college, to be in his wedding. His wedding was that same weekend on a Saturday in Orange County. The race is in Arizona, and you have to check in on Friday. So first I said there's no way to do it, this is impossible. But then I thought, maybe I don't need to do the race, and I could tell everyone I have to go to the wedding. So that was like a plan, but I said, if I really am okay with my expectations for the race, I should be okay going to do the race and flying back and going to the wedding. So that's what I signed myself up, and a lot of people said I was crazy, but thankfully it all worked out. So Thursday, I went to the rehearsal, and then I drove myself to Arizona, 6-hour drive, no big deal. There's my friend who I stayed with, she made a pizza, I was really excited. It was burned, that's why it's all dark. I ate it anyway, because it doesn't matter, I don't want it to go to waste. Friday, I woke up at 9, so I'm in Arizona, I woke up at 9, before the race you should do a little bit of training. I ran for 2 miles, I checked in, I went to the hotel, I took a nap, I had dinner with my other friend who was doing the race, then I got my stuff ready. There's all my stuff, there's the food I made, there's a picture of the race day, and here's a picture of all my stuff. I was looking at all my stuff. It was a very hectic week that week because I was really busy at work. There's my bike, my shoes, my wetsuit, all my watch, and all the things, and that night I realized, wow, there's a problem. I was missing my suits that I wear for the race, my helmet, and my sunglasses. Things you can't just forget. And so one of the lessons learned was don't wait till the last minute to get all your stuff ready. So thankfully, I had to fly back anyway for the wedding, so it wasn't a big deal. But if this was Saturday night, I would have been in really big trouble. The thing is, I still needed to do a bike ride before that Saturday morning, so I ended up going to Walmart at 11 o'clock at night to get a helmet. That's the helmet I got at Walmart, because I didn't want to do a practice ride without a helmet. That would have been a big disaster if something would have happened. So, anyway, so Friday night, I went to buy a helmet. Saturday, the plan was I have to drop off my bike at 10 a.m. No big deal. And thinking, if I get there at 9 o'clock, because my flight's at 11:40, and I have to get to the airport, I should get there early. And when I got there at 9:30, they said, nope, you got to wait till 10 o'clock. So I said, fine. So I was just waiting in line. I got to there at 10 o'clock. I checked my bike, and then drove all the way to the airport. And it was really stressful because I almost missed my flight. I had to cut through security and say, sorry, I'm going to miss my flight. And thankfully, it all worked out. It ended up that when I got on the plane, my flight had, the plane had a problem, so they had to, I had to deboard because the brakes weren't working. And so I'm like, this is crazy. I rushed here and now I gotta, so they said, there's probably a 2-hour delay to get until the plane's ready. So I'm like, great, I'm probably gonna miss the wedding, so maybe I should just not go. But so half an hour later, thankfully, they got us onto another plane. We flew there. I got to the airport. I was supposed to rent a car and drive to the wedding site because then I needed to drive back or go back to my house, pick up my helmet, and then come back. That was the plan on Saturday. Problem is, 3 weeks ago, I lost my license.
Oh.
And I thought, well, I'm sure they will let me rent a car without a license. That was a very bad assumption. When I got to the rental car place and said, hey, here's my expired license, because I needed an ID, they said, no, there's no way we're going to give you a car. So I just had to get in the taxi and get to, no big deal. But it was a very stressful Saturday. I was thankful I still made it to my friend's wedding. I was in the wedding. So it was nice, but it was just not what I'm used to doing before. Because usually you're just relaxing, you're just taking your time, not flying back and forth. And by the time I got back to my hotel, it was around 11 o'clock, and I was very exhausted. So that was another lesson I learned. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have gone away. I don't know. So that was Saturday. Sunday morning, here's my friend Wesley. That picture I had in the beginning, that was a picture of the race swim start. I have oatmeal every morning before my race, and there's me right before I'm about to swim. Just an idea, this is how it looks like before they start the race in 2014, where they just have all 3,000 athletes in the water, and you just kind of wait, and they fire a cannon, and you go around the course. This was a big problem because you can imagine when 3,000 athletes all start at the same time, a lot of bad things can happen. I'm not sure what happened, but this year they had a rolling start where they just kind of have a hallway, maybe as big as 15 feet, and everyone just kind of goes in. So it's still a big mess, but better than this. When I did this last year, I probably got kicked in the face maybe 20 times. It's not fun, because swimming is not a strength of mine, and when I think I'm going to do okay, and then everyone runs me over, it's just not good. So, just an idea, this is how it looked like last year, but this year was a little better. Last year, I took 2 hours to swim, 20 minutes before the cutoff. That is, according to my watch, how I swam. It's not accurate, but I ended up swimming an extra 400 yards. It's a 2.4 mile swim, and since I'm not a swimmer by background, I've had to learn on my own, and so I ended up just swimming a lot of extra swimming. My goal was to at least I thought I would do around the same, because I didn't swim as much as I did last year. But thankfully, I swam in an hour and 30. So actually, I came out of the water thinking, oh my goodness, I think there's something wrong with the course. I was so confused that this race was going to be over 30 minutes earlier, or the swim portion, and I noticed, the swim path, according to my watch, was a lot better. I only swam the 2.4 miles versus 2.7 last year. So this was good. Last year with my bike, I averaged around 15.6 miles an hour, which is pretty good still. They have cutoffs, and I wasn't close to the cutoff. But I was happy with this. Last year, I was just trying to play it very conservative. This year, I said, I think I could take my chances because I've been doing a lot of biking. And so last year, I did around, so that was last year. Here's some photos. There's a picture of Jason at the top. The crazy part of what happened this year was it started pouring rain on the bike, like really hard, a lot harder than we're used to doing here. And for a lot of people, when you're just wearing a little bit of clothing, you're not wearing long sleeve or whatever, it's very uncomfortable when you're going 20, 30 miles an hour and it's just pouring. And so that's a guy who, with one of the pros, that if you see carefully, that's all blood because he fell. I don't know if it was the rain or something, but this sport, you can imagine, is also very dangerous. Thank God nothing's happened to me throughout these races. I fell in a couple times training, but nothing where I'm in the hospital. So yeah, it was a very tough day, but if I were to pick, I'd rather have it raining than it really, really hot, because being hot is not fun. This year I averaged a lot faster. I was really thankful that just a lot of biking actually helps, and so I ended up still biking very, very well. I did it at almost an hour and 20 minutes faster than last year. I was really thankful that even though I was really stressed about what happened at the half Ironman, overall I was looking really good. But what really counts in this Ironman is what happens on the run, because there's a lot of people who bike really, really fast, which I thought I did, but when they get off the bike, they have no energy and they're walking the marathon. And that's what happens because you overdid it on the bike, and I thought maybe that could have happened to me. And so you kind of never know until you start running and you're seeing how your legs feel. I think being it raining and me being, of course, very tired at this point, I really, really like this verse from James. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. Oh, what's funny? What is funny about this? But I'm telling you, when you're doing these races and you're very tired and it's hot and you're by yourself, it's really, that's when you start to really pray and say, God, I don't really want to do this anymore, but I got to remind myself it's not about me, and I really, really need your help to get through this. And so I'm always encouraged by this verse, again, throughout my training and on race day, to just, again, remind myself this is good for me to go through these trials, because as much as I'm suffering on the course, being tired and thirsty and I want to be done, what Jesus suffered on the cross is infinitely more difficult than any of these races. So I think for me this really helps me connect to Jesus like that, because I'm, again, really experiencing difficult trials, but again, nothing close to what Jesus has done for us. 2014, I ran around a 4:30. That's around a little over 10 minutes a mile, which was still very good relative to my age group. That's a graph of my run pace where last year I was kind of taking my time, and then I saw my friend who I was racing against, and I started to accelerate, and I didn't catch him, but still, that's kind of why the graph goes up and down. This year, I ended up running close to a 4-hour marathon, and I was very surprised about. It was pouring on the rain. There's Jason in the corner. I mean, it was just dripping. A lot of people had these thermal blankets over because they were so cold. You can imagine after, burning 5,000 calories biking and swimming, that all your energy that should be used to keep your body warm is all gone. And so a lot of people were just in the tents with these blankets, just kind of recovering. And so it was a very difficult race for all of us. But, it still worked out okay, and I managed to just kind of hold on to a 9-minute pace throughout the race. And you can imagine, again, after what happened on my half Ironman, I was just really just thankful and happy to just get this far and to be here. Because throughout the race, I'm like, I shouldn't have even been here. I thought I was going to quit, and so I was really, really happy to make it this far and finish. So I finished, this was my 2014 time. I did it around 14 hours, which again, I was very happy last year to do. This year, I did it in 11 hours and 33 minutes, so it was about 2.5 hours faster than I did last year. And again, I was just really thankful to be here to get this done. It was still a long day, and I'm really, really, really thankful that I still did a lot better than I did last year. And so it was good, especially, again, compared to what I thought I would turn into. And so I definitely learned a lot through this process, and I'm just so thankful that I stuck to doing this race and not quitting. And so I'm really thankful. Another verse that you guys are very familiar with, 1 Corinthians 9:24-25. Do you not know that the race all the runners run, only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. So this is another verse for me throughout my process that I'm just reminded of, that at the end of the day, as exciting it is to talk about doing better and crossing the finish line, this is still just temporary in the grand scheme of things. And so for me, yeah, that's what I, again, have to remind myself throughout this process of me training and racing. Some of the things that I took home from all this, I enjoy racing, but I've also learned to have boundaries. One thing I've noticed when I come here, a lot of people just, the first thing they say to me is, "Hey, Erwin, did you do a race this morning?" And while a lot of times it's true, and I did, I don't want to be known for the guy who just does races all the time. And so I noticed I've done a lot last year, but this year I'm not going to do the Ironman next year. I'm not going to do a lot of other races I said. I'll probably do maybe half as much. Still, I will keep busy, but I think I've learned, at the end of the day, it's a lot of time to invest. It's fun, but, given all the other things going on in life, especially I think what's going on here at church and just the opportunities that, we're really starting to take off with our new vision. I mean, for me, I'd rather really start to invest more time in the people here and in the ministries here. And so really I've had to make that decision to let go of some of this because there's only so many hours in the day. I think like you saw throughout the process with my pride getting in the way, to embrace the talents God's given me, but to not, be envious of other people. At the end of the day, my friends still beat me, but that's okay. It's okay that I have a long way to go in where I am, but to just be thankful for what God's given me and to just keep building off that versus compare myself to other people. And like I learned, don't wait till the last minute to get your stuff ready. I've done this so many times, you would think by now I would not forget my helmet, so lesson learned again, don't wait till the last minute. So that's my presentation. I think going back to me being the discipleship officer, I really like this quote by Jim Rohn. It's, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I really believe this to be true. This is why, in me being here, I've always made sure I've met up with the young adult pastor. Right now it's John, before it was Ted, and I'm glad to meet up with Hanley and a lot of other brothers in this church, my small group. I think for me, I've learned as much as, there's so many good programs here at church to really take advantage of the people around you and to be intentional with getting on people's calendars to meet up with. I think we really all did this as a church and really went out of our way. I think a lot of good things would happen. And so, yeah, for me, I do spend a lot of time with my friends, with my little brother and my other friends there in those pictures. But I know for me, more importantly, to really fellowship with like-minded believers and how critical that's been to keep me grounded, to keep me focused on not getting carried away in racing or in work and all that stuff. So I hope you guys would think about that if you really are interested in doing stuff like this, then we can, hang out and I'll be glad to help you do these things. So, that's one thing. That's all I had. Any questions regarding what I said? I talked really fast for 12, so I think we're running a little late. But any questions about?
Let's give you a big hand list. So how does the Ironman and the Christmas got together?
Oh, those ugly Christmas sweaters that I saw that's swimming, biking, and running. So
yeah,
it's going to be appropriate to wear today. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, great. Thanks for the opportunity. And again, if there's anything about this that you want to talk to me about or any details, you have a son or you or your parents want to get into this. Again, you saw the video, you saw there are people in that video that have done 50 triathlons and they're in their 70s. Anything is really possible if you want to, but yeah, it's also a lot of time.
Let me ask you a question. Do you play video games?
I do not play video
Me
games.
neither. See, I mean, I think this is a better alternative because, you know, I know guys who spend 30 hours. I'm just kidding.
Great.
Um,
Thank you.
Let me close this in prayer, and again, because we're over time.